Into every generation, podcasters are born. Two guys in all the world, chosen ones. They alone will wield the strength and skill to discuss the vampires, demons, and the forces of darkness, to lament the spread of their evil and the swell of their number. This is the Untitled Buffy Project. Welcome to the first episode of the Untitled Buffy Project. We will be looking at the first episode of Season 4 this week, called The Freshman, written and directed by Joss Whedon. Buffy, Willow, and Oz have all started their first semester at the fictional UC Sunnydale, where Buffy's having a lot of trouble fitting in, Willow's just blossoming, and Oz is typically unfazed. Xander has decided to take a cross-country trip. Giles has retired after the library was destroyed at the end of the last season. And as usual, some vampires show up to ruin Buffy's day. Okay, Carter, here we are in the very first episode of our Untitled Buffy Project.
Yes, and that is the title of our project.
But it's untitled.
Yes, but no, it's not.
We're so clever.
It's just awesome. It's so awesome. It's Joss Whedon level awesome.
Is that what it is?
It's not, but I wanted to say that.
Aww.
Because I love him so much, and I'm so very happy that you forced me into watching Buffy with you.
Yeah, I still have not finished the Buffy TV series, which I need to do. So this is hopefully going to be my kick in the pants to finish it. All I have to do is the last season. So after this, I think I will watch the last season.
Yeah, I've seen all of season 1 and 2, and I'm book smart on season 3. But and obviously we'll be doing this fun project to get through season 4. So I'm probably gonna try and keep catching up on season 3, and then once we're completed with this, I'll try and run the gauntlet with Sean as fast as I can, and then read the comic.
Yeah, the reason I picked season 4 is because I feel like it really got going in this season. We got out of high school, and the actors have all grown up a little bit and kind of grown into their chops, and it's become a much better show than it was the first 3 seasons. Not that they were bad, just it's better now.
Yeah, that was the very first note that I had on this entire project while we were watching, starting with episode 1, The Freshman, was it was a good move to put them in college. They needed to adjust the pressure levels to keep the show interesting. It was totally a smart move to make sure they get out of, or did I say college? High school. Get them out of high school as fast as possible.
Right.
Just get them out of there.
Yeah, they kind of juggled all the characters around too. Okay. And they juggled all the characters around and moved them.
Yeah, I mean, they did an admirable job of making the show interesting by changing both the settings and the themes, and while still staying true to what Buffy is supposed to be about. The whole idea of taking everyday problems and turning them into vampires and demons. Right,
and I think getting to see all these characters, almost all of them were put in kind of a fish out of water situation. Like Buffy is so used to being so self-assured and everything, and she goes into college almost regretfully, like she doesn't know if she wants to be there, and she clearly is having trouble blending.
Yeah, and I think it's more interesting than, say, the intro to the 3rd season, where we see Buffy totally confident on her own. She's in Los Angeles. She's like street smart, totally with it, and then there's a complete reversal where she's in school, which is a lot different from hiding under an assumed name, and she's totally vulnerable. And Willow is totally owning, which I love.
Yeah. You see when they meet Riley in the bookstore pretty early on, that Buffy's the thing that Buffy relies on a lot, her good looks, are working against her, because Riley's oh, she's the pretty smart, or she's the pretty dumb blonde, and here's her smart friend. And he just basically ignores Buffy.
Right, and when they meet up later, she says, "Hey, I saw you in the library, remember? A book fell on you?" And he's like, "Oh, that's right, you're Willow's friend." Which I love. So I just as a whole, I mean, I love Buffy, and I thought this was a fine episode. I thought this was kind of slow for an intro episode. Did you feel that way at all?
Yeah, and I'll point out that this one was written and directed by Joss, and Joss has always said he is bad at writing beginnings.
Proof positive.
Even if it's the beginning of a season, there's always a little bit of a stumbling getting out of the gate. And then for some reason, when he writes the middle of stuff, perfectly fine. He's fine.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think it's setting up what's going to be happening okay, but I just thought it was slow and I didn't feel any sense of threat anywhere. Like a vampire fraternity, I thought that was kind of weak.
Right. And one of the things that we've brought up on our podcast, the big bad, is not present in the episode until the last 30 seconds?
Yeah, the last few
frames. You get just a little bit of a tease about it.
Right. I'm glad I was wrong about this. When I was watching this episode, I thought, is the big bad of this season just going to be college?
Right.
Like adjusting to college life? That seems kind of weak, but Joss saved it at the end, or he in the briefest of moments, teased what he's going to be doing. And also, you know what? I just thought they took too long to bring Xander in. I wanted to see him earlier.
Maybe he was doing a movie or something. Ha 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 ha. That guy doesn't get any work.
He does not. Also, I love the fact that do you remember this? He was quoting Yoda in The Phantom Menace.
Yes, and he couldn't even get the line right.
He couldn't even get it right. That's such a Xander thing to do, is to be a geek and not very good at what you're doing generally. Like he's a nerd and he's not too bright.
Yeah. Well, I will say Joss he's shown us more of the big bad than is immediately apparent, and since you're not any further than I am, which is the second episode, I know that there's some stuff hidden in there that I don't want to say it's a spoiler to know that there is stuff that you're missing, but there's stuff that you're missing. It's one of those hidden in plain sight things.
I love this tease.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's this is the reason that I picked this season.
Interesting. Well, the only other, I didn't have a ton of notes on the first episode, mostly because not a lot happened.
Yeah, we see that there's going to be tension for probably both of Willow and Buffy with their roommates. Willow's roommate is just some party hard, you never see them kind of individual, and Buffy's roommate is maybe just a little too curious and annoying.
Yeah, we learn a lot more about their roommates in the second episode, but I immediately knew there's gonna be problems with Buffy's roommate, because she's just I just really love that I got matched up with a cool person like you. It's whenever you hear that sort of stuff, it's
that's gonna be a problem.
Yeah, and also this episode and really the next episode spoke to me a lot, having gone to college.
Uh-huh.
I was yes, exactly. So I thought that they hit the nail pretty squarely on the head. Whereas some of the high school stuff was either not true for me or too overtly preachy about about topical sort of things. Whereas this is sort of dealing with what I would think are more subtle issues of adjusting to adult life.
Yeah, living with someone.
Yeah, that's a problem for everybody. Even if you don't go to college, you're gonna have to learn how to adjust to living with someone who isn't your family. Even if that's a romantic interest, you're gonna run into these types of problems.
And Alicia was like, "Why didn't Willow and Buffy just room with each other?" And I was like, "Because it's a TV show and they want to create some drama."
Well, I went to college with someone who I was fairly close with in high school, and we weren't able to. We were just randomly matched up. So
the thing that I always hear is that you're not supposed to room with your best friend because that will, drive a wedge between you.
Save it for the next episode. I got stuff. I got stuff, Sean. Something that I noticed was that, and we didn't see this at all in the second episode, and maybe this becomes more important, is that we had professors in this episode. We get introduced to two professors.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is the media studies professor who is a total dick, and I hated him immediately. It's like such a pretentious, like, you know, and he just destroys Buffy for no good reason. I don't know
Absolutely
any,
humiliates her.
absolutely humiliates her for no good reason. And I mean, I was on. Sean, you were a teacher in high school, and I, may still end up teaching in college, and I've experienced with tons of teachers. I don't know of a single educator who would have acted the way that he did.
He was pulling a real power play.
Yeah, I was appalled. And then you had the psychology professor who merely claims that she is mean, but seems like the kind of professor that you end up liking, who assigns hard stuff and you learn things from.
Right. A disciplinarian, but a good educator.
Right. I believe Sean might have to bleep me, or on the previous one as well. I don't know. She refers to herself as the evil bitch monster of death.
Which is such a Joss Whedon expression.
It really is. It really, really is.
Yep.
The thing, one of the things, this wasn't subtle at all, but I really liked, was that they're in California and the show takes place in fictional. Sunnydale is fictional, right?
Yeah.
But they have a UC Sunnydale.
Right.
Part of the UC system. I like that. That was a good. Sunnydale seems to get bigger every season. It seemed to me like when they started that Sunnydale was kind of small, but now it's like, oh, they got a college and it's big.
It's a whole thing. You've never heard of Sunnydale?
I know.
It's like one of those Stephen King towns that it's just like Americana somewhere, like this must exist.
Sure. It's everything about the West Coast, particularly Southern California, boiled down into one thing, right?
Yeah.
I guess, or middle. I'm sorry, not Southern California. Middle to north, Sacramento, North California, is what I think that they're getting after. Well, I enjoyed the first episode a lot, even though I thought it was very slow, and I'm glad that we're doing this project.
Yeah, I am too.
Yeah.
I noticed my last note that I have scrolled down here is there was a cute little line that I was like, oh, that's just perfect. At one point, Xander, when they're figuring out that there's a problem with the vampires, he looks at the rest of them and says, "Avengers assemble!" And I was like, if Joss only knew at the time, he probably wouldn't have written that.
Yeah. There were a lot of good Xander moments in this. He also says, whenever he's in a bad situation, he just thinks, what would Buffy do?
I think of Xander as the Joss in the scene. Like, if Joss himself were standing in a scene, he would be delivering all those lines.
I think so. I mean, of the few little interview bits from Joss I've seen, he always is very self-deprecating and very humble, and makes it seem like, I don't really know how I got here. I just did. And it's like, I'm actually kind of dumb, and I don't know. And that seems like Xander. But at the same time, Joss Whedon is also kind of cuttingly hilarious and very observant.
Just like Xander. We're gonna start approaching this from a whole new angle. It's gonna, by the time we're done, it'll be called the Untitled Xander Project.
The Xander Project. Well, my final thought is that when Sean asked me to start watching these to prepare for this project, I started watching with the first season, and I could not stand Xander at all. At all. I thought that he vacillated between pathetic and annoying.
I think you're about right.
And he's significantly better in my opinion now.
He's got a whole thing coming. I'm excited for you to see it.
You're excited for my excitement?
Yep.